Hey guys, I hope you are having a fabulous week, a productive week, a healthy week. Currently now we are dealing with the coronavirus, so hopefully you guys are staying coronavirus free. I just wanted to hop on just to give a few statements about my conversation with Daree Nieves. We had a phenomenal conversation on loneliness and entrepreneurship and relationships, so social isolation, caregiving, social media, mental health, and I went to church a few times in this episode, and so very excited for you all to listen to this recording, and I am sure that you will also go to church as well, maybe even Sunday school. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and get this recording started. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Life Business Trailblazer Podcast, a podcast for creatives and innovators desiring to forge a new trail for their life in business. I am your host, Daniela G, and I am so glad that you're here. Today I have an awesome guest on today's episode. She has over 20 plus years of experience in the IT space. She's also a fellow podcaster. She's an author, life coach, voiceover extraordinaire, entrepreneur, and so much more. So please help me in welcoming Daree Nieves. Yeah. I said it right? Okay, awesome. Awesome. And so today's conversation is going to be on loneliness and entrepreneurship and relationships. So this is going to be some good stuff. So before we dive into the main topic for today, I want to ask you a podcast guest engagement question. And the main purpose of this question is really to kind of get you loose and comfortable as we kind of get prepared for today's discussion. So you win a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to sit and talk to any self-help celebrity. Who would it be, and what would you talk about?
Oh man, I have a lot of self-help heroes and sheroes. This is going to be kind of hard.
Yeah.
I sort of, my default answer is Oprah, but she's not a contemporary of mine. You know, she's closer to my mom's age than me.
Yeah.
The next person down might be someone like Marie Forleo, because she's only a year older than me.
Okay.
So I might talk to Marie. I don't know. I love self-help. I'm a self-help author, so I'm sure there's plenty of people that would fit that question. But yeah, what would we talk about? I don't know. Maybe we talk about why it's so hard for women to just own who they are. There seems to be this thing where women, whether it's by themselves, what they do themselves, or society just pushes them down, and it's like, they're great and they know they're great, but they tone it down so that other people won't feel bad. They cover their shine.
Oh man, and that really jogs my memory. If I had an opportunity to sit down with any celebrity, I feel like it would be Bosma St. John, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for Endeavor. And I love her not only because she's confident, but because she is sending this message to all women that you should always show up as your most authentic self. And that really aligns with what you're saying, right? Because it's right. We as women, we don't really own who we are. We're so comfortable with not bragging about all of our accomplishments and things of that nature. It's okay. I feel like it's okay to some degree to kind of talk about what you've done, right? But we're not fully comfortable in doing that. And so Bosma is the kind of person that she's not really braggadocious, but she's very certain of herself. And I really admire that because I one day aspire to be as confident as she is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my answer.
I think everybody can relate on some level, even if, whether you're there now or you used to be there. So.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. All right. Awesome stuff. All right. So let me go ahead and read your awesome bio. So Daree, let's scroll up here. So Daree Allen Nieves, right? I said it right? Okay. Works from her home office in the Virginia Beach area. She is an award-winning technical writer, speaker, certified life coach, podcast host, and authorpreneur who has published articles on a variety of topics as a freelance writer and blogger. Daree is also the author of 3 books, including the teen mentoring book series entitled What's Wrong With Me?, in which she discusses her own childhood dealing with self-esteem, media influence, premarital sex, family and personal relationships, and gives advice to teens about it all. Her latest book, Ending the Blame Game, discusses relationship advice for Black couples based on interviews with numerous Black men, coaches, and therapists. She's also a voice actor. Her poised, polished, and professional voice is perfect for clear corporate communications, such as commercials and promos for radio, web, voicemail, on-hold messaging, and training courses. As a voice talent, authorpreneur, and podcaster, she enjoys inspiring people and using her voice for good. I love it.
Yes.
So
it sounds like she's a great person.
Yeah, right? She's awesome. Like, she should be my friend. I love it. So let's kind of dive into our topic for today. I just read your bio, so we are very familiar with the accolades that you have acquired and the various skill sets that you have. But tell us a little bit more about Daree. On a personal level, who are you? What gets you up in the morning? And how do you forge a new trail on a daily or yearly basis?
Yeah, I have some gene that I think I may have inherited from my mom. I don't know. I call myself a goal getter because every day when I wake up, I'm thinking about, what do I need to do next and how do I get to where I want to be? And it doesn't matter if it's a business goal or a personal goal. I'm really self-motivated and fueled. And some of those things, people, whether you have accountability or not, I personally have accountability in some areas, but some of it is just me pushing myself. And so, if let's say, for instance, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to do a 5-mile race. And, nobody's coming, Yeah. I mean, people are going to go, but nobody in my family is coming to watch me. I don't have anybody that's going to be there to cheer me on. And likewise, I don't have anyone that has pushed me to do my training runs or anything. But thank goodness this isn't my first rodeo, and I have this gene that just, is very compulsory and it makes me do these things. So there's just something that I just have this natural, energetic drive to, move through life, doing things and checking them off for whether it's to help others or my own personal satisfaction. So there is that. In addition to being, an entrepreneur and all that fancy stuff, I am a woman, of course. I am a mom. I am a widow. I became a widow when I was 40, and I was a newlywed widow. So that's where my another piece that we'll probably talk about a little bit later comes through. And also, I'm just a person that is, I don't know, I'm very extroverted. I like to be around people, but I spend a lot of time alone just because I work from home and things like that. I enjoy acting. I enjoy voice acting, but I also take improv classes. It's fun. I like to be around people. And my favorite thing to do really is when I get together with people and it's like a semi-small group. It doesn't have to be necessarily 5 people or 10 people, but just something that's secluded. So like, for example, you think about New Year's Eve. People are always like, okay, what are you doing for New Year's Eve? Personally, I just go to bed. Like I got to the point where I don't even watch, the specials on TV or anything. I don't watch the ball drop or anything. But if I were to go somewhere, I would much prefer to be either in my house with friends or someone else's house than to be out at the club or at, some public place where people, will act up and stuff. So that's just kind of who I am. So in a way I'm extroverted, but in a way I'm also introverted because I like to have control of, who's around me and, who's talking to me and all that. And I have, a small group of friends that I confide in and can lean on, even if I don't talk to them like a whole lot. You know how you have a good friend and maybe you haven't seen them for years, but when you talk to them again, it's just like yesterday. So yeah, and I rely on that.
Okay, awesome. I love that. So you talked about how you consider yourself to be an extrovert, but you spend a lot of time alone. Has your loneliness resulted in some kind of epiphany? So I know for me, for example, I consider myself to be an ambivert. So I'm a perfect melody between being introverted and extroverted. But I also spend a lot of time alone. And in my loneliness, I realize that I'm actually very retrospective. And I like to really reflect and process things that have happened to me, whether for that day or over a period of time. And I realize that with this ability, it has given me the skill of connecting with people on a very genuine level. So in your loneliness, has there been some kind of epiphany for you regarding your life, your emotions, the way that you connect with people, what you love, what you don't like, etc.?
One of the things that chronic loneliness has done in my life is it makes me more conscious. I am not somebody, it just so happens that I'm kind of outspoken, so I'm not afraid to say what I'm saying now or to post it like on Facebook for everyone to see that I feel lonely or that I feel like I have everything except fill in the blank, that I've been searching for whatever. I know one thing is that the chronic loneliness has made me just really extra aware of things that I think are missing. There's a couple of things that I know are missing in my life that maybe I used to have, that I crave. And I understand that there is absolutely nothing wrong with me wanting or needing those things. So I'll give you an example real quick. Is I have always gone to church. I'm sure that I was in my mother's stomach, going to church. So that's just a part of my life. Church is a part of my life. I don't go like every day or anything like that, but usually on Sundays, that's what I do. And I kept up that practice as an adult for the most part. There was an incident that occurred about 4 years ago that I won't get into here, but the point is that I decided to separate from that church. And ever since, it's kind of difficult sometimes to move somewhere or to change churches for whatever reason, because you want the people around you. That's a very vulnerable place where you're going, right? And you want to feel like you can connect with people. It becomes like a second family, really, especially for someone like me that did not live near family when this all happened. So they were like my second family away from home. And so when this divide came about and I decided to separate from the church, it really brought a lot of things into question for me, where loneliness came in as well, because it's like, okay, well, I'm friends with certain people, but I feel like they're acting a different way than what, maybe they should, especially church of all places, So it brings a crisis of faith sometimes. It brings questions about what I really need. And like I said, that was 4 years ago. And to this day, even though I've visited many places and I moved to another state and everything, I still have not found a new church home where I feel like I belong there, I fit in, the people, I still haven't found that. So it's not like, I have all these other things going on in my life and they're great, but, I don't have all the answers. Everything is not perfect. There's lots of reasons for that. So my point in bringing that up is not to put blame on the church for why I left or whatever. It's just to give that example of that's a place where I really felt like I could belong, and that was another family, and that I could be connected. And in this society that we have now, we are so disconnected from people. And when you go to an institution or a venue or an event or some, gathering like a church, thinking that you're going to have connection and that you can feel safe there, emotionally safe, and then you find out that you're not for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
That is very shattering and it's very disabling. And maybe that's why it's been so many years that I still haven't, found a new one.
Yeah, that certainly can be very, very, very challenging. I think that I don't wanna stay on the church topic too long because it's a very delicate topic. Religion is very delicate, but
Yes.
I feel like for me, what I've observed in my life is that there are a lot of churches that really don't really foster that community aspect that people are looking for. Instead, a lot of churches have turned to making church a business. And so for me, I kind of felt that in the past year, I haven't been like an avid church goer. Like I'll go here and now, and most of my personal time is spent with God, talking with Him, meditating and praying and things of that nature. But I just kind of feel like nowadays church has shifted. It's not. I feel for me personally, it's not. It's not really based on the people anymore. And I just really wish that church kind of went back to what it was, where it was about the people, and it was more than just kind of giving them hope. It was kind of giving them structure, and if things can just kind of revert to what it was, it would be excellent. It'd be excellent. So. All right. Well, enough of church. Let's kind of go ahead and just talk about males and females in relationships. I know some people personally who are not in relationships, who are by themselves, and they are struggling emotionally. They're struggling mentally. They're struggling spiritually and physically. And so a lot of them kind of feel like they don't know what to do to get themselves out of that loneliness. And so for anyone who's listening right now who need to hear something, what would you share with them about kind of getting out of loneliness?
First of all, loneliness is a condition that's like a human condition. It's not something that you can ever totally get rid of.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have the attitude like I don't need nobody, I'm good all by myself, I don't need nobody, or if you are super clingy, or if you are like dead, right center in the middle of all that. It's just something that all of us go through as human beings, just like any other emotion that we have. One thing that I can say, because I certainly have not conquered loneliness, is that we have to recognize, whether we're in a romantic relationship or if we're just talking about friendship or whatever, what our needs are, our personal needs, not necessarily, your personality type of being an extrovert or introvert, but what are your needs? Like fill in the blank, what are your needs? So for me, I'd say, what are Daree's needs? Like what do I need? And if I am approaching a relationship, then I have to be willing to not only identify it for myself on my own time, in my own quiet time or whatever, this is what I need, whether it's journaling or just self-reflection like we were talking about before. What do I need, in order to be happy, satisfied, content, whatever? What can I offer? And, how can I bring that together? Because, of course, when we go into a relationship, naturally, we're all self-absorbed. I mean, some of us are natural givers. Don't get me wrong. Some people are people pleasers or they're natural givers. And that's fine. But everyone has to take stock of both what you need and what you can offer. And so the loneliness piece for me comes into play when you think about, okay, if I'm not in a relationship right now, then what can I do to incorporate some social activity into my life? Are there different apps that I can go to or websites where I can find things? A lot of people, mention the site Meetup. Meetup is pretty good, in my opinion, as far as certain cities and areas. If you're living in a metropolitan area, wow, I mean, the world is your oyster, but if you don't, then it could be a lot slimmer to, find things to do and meet people with common interests. But ideally, whether it's through Meetup or, back again to church or something else, a class maybe at a community college, someplace where you can get with other folks that you have a common interest, and this is probably going to help if you want to actually have a love life. This is probably going to help with your love life too, because the best relationships, romantically speaking, are those where people are friends first and they have things in common. It's not just only attraction or lust or whatever, but there's something behind it. Things that you can do together that you both enjoy doing, and like minds, things that you both believe in, values that you both share. So getting really clear about what it is that you need and when you are happiest and when your cup, so to speak, your proverbial cup is being filled, that you need to pay attention to those times. Pay attention to those things when you're happy. If you're having a moment, you're out with, your friends, or, you're visiting family, or you're having a good time, even, at the house, or gathering, anything, the movies, whatever. Pay attention to those times when you are like up high and you're happy. A lot of people pay so much attention to when they're sad or when they're lonely. You have to pay attention to those times that you really feel good, so that you can have more of them. What is the common thread between those things? I actually went to a meetup a couple of days ago, and when I arrived, it was maybe like 20 women. I was probably the oldest woman there. I'm in my early 40s. And probably the youngest person there was maybe like 23 or 25. So like that's a nice little span, but we were all women, everything was cool. We had fun. It was like a game night type deal. So we had wine, we had pizza, we had snacks, and we had games. And, I think I knew 2 people there. Like I had already previously met 2 of those ladies, and all the rest of them were brand new to me. But it was cool, it was fun, and it filled my cup. I recently reconnected with someone, and we've been spending a lot of time on the phone. That fills up my cup. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a reconnection, and it's something that I need. And I obviously I'm a talker, so I can spend a lot of time on the phone really easily without even noticing. Pay attention to those activities that you do or situations that make you happy and light you up, and try to figure out how you can get more of those.
So we all know how important credit is nowadays. You need credit to get a credit card. Your credit score is considered when you are shopping for a home loan, even a car loan. So credit is something that is very important. And so many of us may have been frivolous in our younger days, but what I want to share with you is that I have an offer to help you improve your credit score. And I will leave the information in the posting of this episode. But the Credit Scientist is a all-around credit repair organization that is focused on allowing you to improve your credit, change your credit, so that you can experience the life that you deserve as a person. So again, the Credit Scientist, Mr. Alex Dennis, I'll leave his information in the description box, because one of the things that we want to do with this podcast is to educate and empower. And so get your credit repaired, get that home, get that car that you deserve, and definitely be responsible. So again, the Credit Scientist. I love that response. Love it. Awesome. So I want to quickly pivot left a bit, and I want to talk about confidence, right? Earlier we mentioned that a lot of women they kind of dim their own light in a sense, right? So for women, especially who are in the entrepreneurial space, how do they kind of walk with this sense of confidence as it pertains to talking about their business, highlighting accomplishments, highlighting themselves? How do they kind of walk with this confidence? That's like the best word that I can really think of. I know for me especially, I'm not always confident to share what I'm doing. And it's not because I'm afraid. I think it's more of just like, I just don't feel that confident. And I believe in what I'm doing, just don't feel confident. So it's just like, what would you tell people? Like, hey, look at X, Y, and Z. And maybe that can really help you in being not afraid to share about yourself, your business, highlighting, and things of that nature.
I think that when you're talking about confidence as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, the first thing we think about with entrepreneurs is the fact that you have a business and that it is sparked from either an idea, something innovative that nobody else is doing, or a different spin on what people are doing. You're doing something the way no one else can do it. There are lots of people that can be in any given niche or category, if you will, but the thing that makes it unique is what you bring to it. So that's the first thing to realize, is that you are bringing a certain flavor. If you think about cooking, a lot of times I could cook some things with no recipe. It's not necessary because I've done it so many times, or it's something simple. But there are times where I need a recipe, right? And when you look at a recipe, you can compare them, and they might have similar spices and things. What do you do when there's an ingredient, a spice, or something that's missing? You try to find a substitute. Sometimes the substitute works and sometimes it doesn't. So you think of yourself as that special spice or that special ingredient, okay, that, it makes the dish go flat, which the dish in this case, using the analogy, would be whatever your product, service is, whatever that category is. Without you, that dish kind of goes a little flat. It's not as tasty. It needs extra salt because they don't have the ingredient that they really need, which is you. So that's one thing. Another thing to consider is that, we are in a very technological, social media driven world, videos, Facebook, Instagram, everything, right? And we are always looking at what other people are doing. Even if we don't necessarily want to do what they're doing, we're looking at it and we're comparing and contrasting, not to say that you're judging, maybe you are judgy, but everyone has something going on in their mind where they're making and forming opinions based on the trends that they're seeing online, the way people are talking about certain things and doing certain things. I think it's important to sometimes, especially if you're starting your business, to have kind of almost like blinders on, and so that you can focus, because it's so easy to get distracted or to start comparing yourself to what others are doing and saying, well, this person is doing it this way, and maybe I need to do it the way they're doing it. And then you start to consume so much information that it paralyzes you. It's analysis paralysis. You are listening to 55 podcasts about something instead of starting your own. Like, after you've listened to like the 20th one perhaps, or the 15th one, you probably could have started, but you're just, you're paralyzed, and you just keep on consuming other people's content, or you just keep on looking at what everyone else is doing, paralyzed. So I think confidence comes from making that decision, saying, what I have something to offer of value, and no, it maybe it's similar to what other people are doing, but no, it's not like what they're doing, because I'm in it, and I'm that special ingredient, I'm that secret spice that people can't figure out what it is, and to continuously do it and refine. It's not like a do or die thing where you put something out there and that's it, and like your success, failure, and you live or die based on that one thing. We're constantly evolving. The first things that I ever put out with, my writing or whatever, were not the best. They were good, they were cool, but they're not the best. Everyone, as they continue to do things and get better and better, we refine our skills. And again, it's not going to be necessarily like what someone else looks at and says, okay, well, I'm like them, or I'm not doing it like they are. It's about what you're doing and what you can share with the world, because there's a voice and an experience that you have that is completely unique, and no one else can tell your story but you.
Ooh, that was church. Oh man, that was oh man, that was a sermon. No, oh my goodness, I love it. I love that response. I love every response that you give, to be very honest with you. Because it just feels so real, and it is real. And everything that you're saying about confidence and your unique story and what you possess and the power that you have, this is all real stuff. And I just kind of feel like, if only we could convince ourselves that this is indeed true, which it is, right? Just imagine all the things that we could do in this world. If only we would convince ourselves that, listen, this person that I think that I am, I really am. Because I truly believe that everything that you need to do is already inside of you. God has already given you the skills that you need, the tools that you need to really build your life. If you cannot activate and sustain your mind, listen, you're not really gonna go far, right? And so it's just like everything that you need is already inside of you. You just have to find the time, take the time to really look within and kind of break things down, put things together. But if only you would convince yourself that you are already this person that you aspire to be.
There's so much in life that is based on mindset. And that is a fact no matter what your level is. It doesn't matter if you're on top of the world, if you're Oprah, or if you are, you or somebody, I don't know, but who's beneath you. I mean, it doesn't matter what level you're at. There's always a shift in your mindset that has to take place before you can move to the next level. And that's why so many people stay stuck. I was talking to my friend the other day about the fact that when I go to my hometown, which is pretty rare, but when I go to my hometown, it's a small town, it seems like people are just kind of stuck. Yeah. They're doing the same thing that they were doing 30 years ago. And I'm like, why is that? And if some of them do break free and go someplace else where there's more opportunities and a better economy and what have you, they turn around and come right back and get stuck in the mud. And I don't understand it. I think that there's a real mindset shift that is mandatory in order for you to grow. And here's something that I didn't say in the last answer that I could have, I'll throw in real quick. When you're not confident, do it anyway, do it afraid. I've heard that phrase many times before. Do it afraid, fake it till you make it. You don't have to, everything is not going to be lined up perfectly. If it was, no one would ever do anything. Life is not perfect. So, yeah, I just feel like people, have to understand that the work with anything, whether it's relationships, business, whatever you want in life, it starts with your mind. What do you believe?
Right.
What do you believe?
Right. And actually, I want to share a very quick story. So recently, I transitioned into a level 2 position at my job. And in the beginning, I felt like it was a very premature decision because the level of technical application was much higher than what I was doing. But I guess I interviewed well. They, see my value and they wanted me. Okay, fine. I'll accept the offer and transition. But I was petrified. You can ask my husband. I literally felt like someone was pushing me off of a cliff. I can't swim in real life. And they were just like, listen, I'm going to push you and figure it out. I felt debilitated. Like, I would sit at my desk. I'm like, I don't know how to start. I was so afraid. But I told myself, I said, Daniela, you have gotten to this point for a reason, right? And you have to continue to show up every single day and do the job. Ask questions. You have a support system, but show up afraid. Even if your voice shakes, even if you stammer, speak, ask questions, right? And it's just like over the past 6 months, I've slowly began to get more comfortable in my position. And granted, there are days where I still feel afraid. Like Friday, I was afraid. But I told myself, as long as you are showing up and doing the work, you are winning. And it's all about the mindset. And you have to do things afraid because why? You never know whether or not an opportunity was really meant to stretch you. Like, if you're not willing to place yourself in those situations that make you afraid, you really won't know your true potential. And for me, I want to get out of my comfort zone. So I'm doing a lot of things that are making me afraid. Like, before podcasting, you could not get me. Like, you could not convince me to actually record myself speaking on a mic. That's how petrified I was. And here I am almost 2 years later. I'm interviewing people, I'm engaging, I'm connecting, I'm building community. And again, it was because I was willing to take the step to get uncomfortable and be uncomfortable, because I realized that really on the opposite side of fear, there's life. There's more life. There's truly more life. And so you really just have to get out of your way and show up afraid, speak speak afraid, do it afraid. And before you know it, you'll be exposed to that situation more than one time, and you will grow and you'll become an expert. So that was my experience. I was afraid, terrified.
I think that most people, when you do things afraid, most people can't even tell you're afraid.
Yeah.
You know, you're sitting there, you got all these thoughts. Oh man, they see how I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I think I messed up and blah blah blah. They don't even know this. Yeah. They have no idea. People are so self-absorbed. They have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So you just do you.
Yeah.
And like I said before, you'll get better and better. And, you know, I continuously do things afraid.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, just in life. You know, I got in a helicopter a few months ago. I never did that before. There was only a few of us in the helicopter, and I held on. I had my left hand was on my phone, and my right hand was holding on to that little thingy at the top, and I just squeezed it the whole 30 minutes that we was up there.
Yeah.
But when I got out, I was like, I did it, and I didn't die.
Yeah,
so,
that part.
That's success for me. So.
Right. So we're talking about mindset, and we talk about the importance of how a solid mindset is truly important for anyone, whether it's in your personal life or business. So can we kind of break down on what a solid mind even looks like? Like, what is that?
Well, a solid mind starts with replacing those negative scripts that you have, okay, with affirmative ones. This kind of seems basic depending on, you know, how much you're into self-help, but work with me here. Anytime that you have a quote-unquote bad behavior or something negative that you do, and in this case we're talking about speaking things aloud, because usually you don't speak anything you haven't thought about first. You know, something that you're saying out loud and giving voice to is something that's coming from within. So there was a thought somewhere. So that's where we're at with the mind, right? So cleaning up the mind has to do with you deciding to identify and call out those things, just like you would call out somebody else saying something. You call out those things that are wrong. Quick example. My mom has this thing that she says a lot. She hasn't done it in a while, kudos to her. But she used to do this and it would get on my nerves. She would say, oh, I'm so stupid. You know? And it's like, because I point something out or someone else points something out and she's like, man, I'm so stupid. And sometimes people say that to themselves and they're really joking and they really don't mean it. But a lot of us beat ourselves up with that or worse, you know, and it's in our mind. She says it aloud and that's how I know that she's thinking it. But there's a lot of people that think things, you know, that are really negative about ourselves. We are our own worst critics until we clean this up. So you have to identify and call out those things that you say to yourself or that you say aloud that are negative, that you should not say. Think about if your best friend or your mother or someone that you really, really, really love and care for said those same things about themselves that you're saying. And what would you say to them in response to that? How would you counteract that? What is a positive, affirmative thing that you could say to replace that? It's one thing to tell people to change their behaviors by saying, well, stop doing that. Stop swearing. Don't say that anymore. Stop eating all that chocolate, you know, after dinner, whatever it is. You cannot just stop a bad behavior with no replacement. That's why it's so important that you do both the identification of this negative thought that you say to yourself, that you think to yourself or say to yourself, and substitute it with something positive. What can you say instead? Keep in mind that the thing that you are going to replace, like this phrase that you're going to replace it with, okay, is going to be something that you may not necessarily believe right now. But when you continuously say something or hear something over and over again, it is much easier to digest it. That's why so many of us have these scripts from childhood that is like so hard to break. Is because we've been either telling ourselves that thing for decades, or one of our parents said it, or a teacher, somebody in passing said this thing and it latched into our spirit and we could not get rid of it. But it's because we're not replacing it with something else. So instead of rehearsing that falsity, replace it with something good and then put that on repeat. That is what you repeat. That is what you have to say aloud to yourself every day. Every single time you catch yourself saying, oh, I'm so stupid, you replace it with something that is the opposite. Again, it doesn't really matter if you believe it right now in the moment. Just keep on saying it. Just keep on doing it. And sooner or later, you will start to believe it. Just like we were talking about with the confidence. You might fake it till you make it. You know, people aren't going to notice every little mistake you make. But as you continue to do it, it will become second nature to you. And you will never be afraid of that thing again. Just keep doing it. You know, we have to continuously do the right things and say the right things over and over again sometimes before it sinks in. There's a lot of things that you can't just do it right one time. You can't just push, you know, that chocolate cake away one time and then you lose the 10 pounds that you're waiting to lose. Mm-hmm. You can't just, you know, do things quickly. It took time to build that bad habit or that negative feeling that you have about yourself. So it's going to take time to replace it.
Ooh, this is just too much church for me on a Monday. I'm telling you, Daree. It's too much church. I love this, though. I love it. And put that on repeat. I love that. I love that. And wow, you know, I could just speak to you forever and ever. I really can. Man, it's just like, this is just such a great conversation that a lot of people just need to hear. They need to hear this, and it's just so excellent. And so now we're actually going to head into the segment of our show that is called Inspiration Avenue. And this is where you will share a quote or adage that resonated with you in your life, and then you will share why this quote or adage is impactful.
Oh gosh, there's a couple, but I'll just stick with one because I've said so much already, and I don't want to be, you know, I need to make sure I stay on track here.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a really simple one. This is from Susie Orman. She said, do what's right rather than what's easy. I'm going to say that again. Do what's right rather than what's easy. Mm. She's not just talking about finances. You know, she is a financial guru, but she's not just talking about money here. She's talking about things like, you know, let's say what's behind it. You know, again, going back to mindset. If someone is always asking you for money and you know they're not good for it, you want to help them, but, you know, because what if it was you? Or maybe it's your cousin, or maybe it's your sister, somebody close. You got to help them, right? But if you're constantly giving them money all the time, then you're hurting yourself because you know you have this animosity and resentment. They never pay you back. They take you for granted. They're always using you. They only ever talk to you when they need something, and they always need money, right? So the right thing to do is not actually to keep giving this person money. The right thing to do in this case would be to set boundaries, okay? And to establish, you know what, I'm not going to enable you anymore. I'm not going to put myself in jeopardy with my bills time after time, and, you know, I get nothing in return. It'd be one thing if, let's say they didn't pay you back with money, but, you know, they were there for you and supported you in other ways, or maybe they watched, you know, one of your children, or they did something else for you. But this person is doing nothing for you. They're not adding any value to your life. The best thing you can do is set boundaries and decide, you know, how much you're willing to do or not do, to be assertive when you say it, even if you don't believe it at first. You say it anyway, you practice this thing, right? And that is not easy. You did what was right, but it wasn't easy. It's not easy to say no to people sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know, no is like one of the first words we ever learn, right? When a baby starts talking, you know, they might say mama and dada and no. Okay, that's the first words. And for some reason, it's easy for us to say it when we're little, but somewhere along the way, especially as women, somewhere along the way, it gets really difficult to say no to people, even if it hurts us. And we've got to flip that script because, you know, you have to put yourself first. You know, self-care is not selfish. You have to put yourself first and honor yourself. Once you honor yourself, other people will understand that they can't violate your boundaries because you're honoring yourself. So therefore, they have to either honor you as well or get out the way. Mm-hmm. Again, it's about doing what's right and not what's easy. And it doesn't matter if it's money or family or a relationship or whatever. Mm-hmm. And most of the time, when we choose things in life, when we make decisions that are the right decisions for us, sometimes they are very difficult, and we don't leave with, you know, a warm and fuzzy feeling after we do it. but it's still the right thing to do. Don't worry about those feelings. If those feelings, those right feelings catch up, you can sleep at night knowing that you did what you needed to do.
Oh man. Yeah, this is good. So on this note, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the floor to share all of your information with our audience, where they can find you on social media, and also any upcoming projects that you are going to be launching, and how our guests can kind of sign up for those services.
Sure. So Daniela mentioned that I have a podcast. I have a couple, but the one, my long-running personal development podcast is called Kicking It with Daree, and you can find that at kickingitwithdaree.com or any place that you love to listen to podcasts. So wherever you're listening to this one right now, I'm sure that you can find me there as well. Secondly, I have a YouTube channel that's called Kicking It with Daree. I don't have all of my episodes there. I have some there. I have a playlist there of my voiceover work, and I have a playlist there for mentoring. So if you're interested in doing voiceover and you want to learn about different things like how to get into it, where to find auditions, how to get training, anything like that, you can find that on my Kicking It with Daree YouTube channel. You can find me everywhere on social media at Daree Allen. I think it's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Those are the three places that I spend the most time. And then I have a course that's launching in the middle of March. It's called Vocality, Launch Your Profitable Voiceover Business. And you can do that as a side hustle. I work from home, but I work full time. And so I'm able to build this business on the side. So if you're interested in trying it out, that e-course, you can find the information at bit.ly/vocality-e-course. And then the last thing I'll mention is just that I have a free resource that you can get. Maybe you're not necessarily sold on doing a full-on course, but you would like some resources because you Google voiceover and it's like you get all this information and it's very overwhelming and you're frustrated. You're like, well, what do I start first? What, do I do this first? Do I do that first? I have a VO resource guide that you can get that's free at bit.ly/Daree voiceover resource. So I think it's plenty of information right there. I'm not going to do any more links. But this was really fun, Danielle. I appreciate this. I didn't even know I was going to say any of the stuff that I said for real. Like I didn't write anything out. I didn't plan it.
This
so
is just,
hopefully it helped somebody. And I'd love to hear if something did resonate with you or you have more questions. Please let us know. Again, I'm at Daree Allen on all the social media platforms.
Yeah, and this is what genuine connection is, right? It's where everything just kind of flows. It doesn't feel scripted. It's not rehearsed. It just flows. And so I love the conversation. I went to church several times today. I love it. And I will certainly make sure to include your details in the description box of this posting, so that will be available. And so if you guys want to get in contact with the Life and Business Trailblazer Podcast, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the handle is THE, L as in Larry, B as in boy, Trailblazer Pod. If you have any questions for me, or if you want to hear a specific conversation or topic, you can certainly email me, and that is THELB, trailblazerpod@gmail.com. So thank you so much for listening. And as I say in every single episode, embark, forge new trails, and conquer.